Welcome to this week's Community Forum. Joining us from the School of Harmony, we have Dr. Ryan Snuffer, who is the Director of Music. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So tell me about your background in music. How did it all get started?
Well, I didn't grow up playing an instrument. I grew up listening to the radio and cassette tapes, so that dates me a little bit. But I always wanted to take lessons. I had a friend that had a guitar, and I would mess around with it, but I had no idea what I was doing. But when I was in my early 20s, I picked up a guitar for the first time in a serious way and took some lessons, just a handful of lessons from a guy who didn't really know a whole lot. He taught me everything he knew in a few weeks, and then I was on my own for a long time. So I played guitar for probably about 12 years after that without any formal music training.
Wow.
And I taught myself through books, and some of that was even pre-internet, so I didn't have the advantage of going online and looking things up as much. But I wish that I'd taken lessons, because that would have made things a lot easier.
Yeah.
And that's something that we do at School of Harmony, obviously. But I love all types of music, but my first public performance was actually in church, leading worship on a Wednesday night Bible study that didn't have any music. And I approached the pastor and I said, would you like to have some music? So that was within the first year of playing. But I went on this long musical journey in pursuing. I wanted to become a great guitarist, and I've always admired great musicians.
Who are some of your favorites?
Well,
or that you've looked to for inspiration?
Back then, it was people like Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead and some of the rock guitarists, and then I found jazz and blues, and today I love Django Reinhardt is probably my favorite guitarist, but I keep discovering new people. And more recently, I have become very serious as a musician, at least from my perspective, from where I came. And I go to music camps and music festivals, and I play in a band, and probably put in at least 2 or 3 hours of playing every day. And I've expanded to playing other instruments as well. But I like Appalachian music, which was kind of interesting. Growing up, I didn't listen to country or bluegrass or anything that people might consider local. I just listened to rock or some maybe Christian music if I was in church. And I moved to Pensacola, Florida for a while, and I met a friend. I made a friend down there who liked West Virginia music, which was interesting. And then I went to Charlotte and met more people there who liked Appalachian traditional music. So when I came back here, I was very interested in maybe there's something. Maybe there's something to this, and had some friends from high school that were playing traditional and Appalachian music, and so that's primarily what I do now. I play a lot of old time music, which is a genre in itself that I had no idea even existed until I moved back up here. So
there you go. That's interesting. You went away and it kind of brought you right back.
Right. And also every year my family goes to Allegheny Echoes in Pocahontas County, and we all get in different music classes, and I've taken banjo and different things there, but I study from Robin Kessinger, who's a St. Albans native and former national flat pick champion. In other words, one of the greatest acoustic guitar players in this country, and he's right here in our backyard. So I've learned a lot from him.
That's awesome. And you mentioned a couple other instruments you also play?
I play mandolin, and I'm learning clawhammer banjo, which is different than bluegrass banjo. It's more of a traditional style, and ukulele, and I've dabbled a little bit with mountain dulcimer and stand-up bass and some other things. But guitar and mandolin and banjo would be the main three.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was it that initially drew you into the School of Harmony and then ultimately the director role?
Because I have children, and I wanted them to be involved in music lessons. And my daughter was taking fiddle lessons from a fellow named Ben Casto, who was at the School of Harmony at the time, and she's a tremendous musician herself. She's been playing a few years and tied last year for first in the state for fiddling.
Good for her.
And because I got her in music lessons, but I was just there a lot, and meanwhile I was a professor at Mountain State University, and a lot of locals know the story there. We don't have Mountain State anymore, and so there were a few years there where I was kind of in limbo and doing other things, and I had a couple of administrative positions in other places, and a position opened up there to teach guitar. So I gave the resume to Dr. Charles Lee, and I got a phone call within minutes. And
wow.
He was excited, and I was excited, and so I started doing lessons there. and then more recently accepted position as director of music.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And you mentioned that when you were younger, you wish you were able to take lessons. How have you found it to just be so important and helpful when, especially kids starting young?
Right. Well, especially when they start young, it's very difficult for anybody to just pick up an instrument and start playing it. I know you hear stories of people who've taught themselves, but even those people have had mentors and some inspiration along the way. I think one of the most important things is accountability. If you don't have someone in the home that can teach the lesson, even then it's difficult when it's mom or dad. But to have a weekly lesson, a face-to-face meeting where you know your teacher's going to see you, and if you haven't practiced, they're not going to be mean, but they won't be as happy. And so it's definitely important to have, I think, personal lessons. You know, in this day and age, everybody goes to the internet to learn anything. We think Google is the omniscient God now, and so we go to Google and we learn things. And you can go to YouTube and learn things about any instrument you want to learn, but there are things that you can't get with a face-to-face meeting. People build and develop bad habits, putting their fingers in the wrong position on the violin or the guitar, and there are easier way to form certain chords. One of the biggest struggles people have in learning a stringed instrument is transitioning, if you're playing rhythm and chords, is transitioning from one chord to another. And if you don't form the chord correctly, you make your job a lot harder transitioning from a G to an E minor or to a C or a D to D7 or something like that. And so a teacher that knows how to teach, which we have a lot of them over at School of Harmony, will be able to help set those things straight. And if bad habits have been developed, we can help correct those early on. So the accountability and making sure that the bad habits aren't there. But also each student is unique. And so there's not really a one-size-fits-all approach to teaching any instrument, but looking at each child and their individual needs and challenges that they face.
And for our viewers who are a little older, but they maybe always wanted to learn an instrument, how about for them? Is it still easy to
absolutely
come in and pick it up?
Well, easy is a relative term. It depends.
Doable?
But it's very doable. It's very doable. In fact, some of my adult students have progressed much more quickly than the younger ones, and we usually hear that the young people can pick it up faster, and that's often true. But sometimes the adults are a little more motivated. Maybe they look at their lives differently from a more mature perspective. I have a lady that started taking in the summer, and I mean, she's just been flying through her lessons and her books, and she's playing quite well now. And I have a banjo student who's old enough to be my dad, and he's pretty good already, but I've been helping him out. And I think that it would be good for anybody to learn. I didn't start until my early 20s, but it's good for all of us. It's good for our brains. It's good for, I think, our confidence. Yeah, it opens up a whole world of people that you didn't know before once you get involved in the music culture.
Tell me about a day-to-day as the director of School of Harmony.
Well,
typical.
Yeah, it's a little different each day, but I do teach lessons still. So some of my days involve one-on-one lessons. I teach banjo, and I think I mentioned ukulele, mandolin, guitar, and but I work with the teachers. I'm the person that they go to if they have some concerns or questions, and I'm there to support them, which is important. We hadn't had a director for a little while, so that's a big part of what I do. Planning and programming. We have all kinds of plans and dreaming. What do we want to do with this wonderful facility, and what classes could we offer that we've never offered before? So we're doing a lot of planning, and we have a lot of ideas for the future. And hiring new teachers. We've hired, I think, 4 new teachers since January. So
it's growing.
Yes, it is growing. We're getting new students and people calling every day that have questions about what we offer.
And how about for parents who are thinking of enrolling their students maybe for the first time? Is there anything they should know ahead of time, or they can get them a little prepared?
Well, they need to do it. So, like I said, I wish that I had lessons when I was younger, but no, it's a real easy process, and I can give you some information as far as how to reach us a little later on. But we have a website and a Facebook page and other means of getting in touch with us. But I think that parents ought to give their child an opportunity to to take lessons. I have a son who's pretty good academically. He's good in sports, but I wanted to make sure he had the opportunity to play music as well. A lot of people think, well, my kid's an athlete, or my kid's good at math, or this or that. I think we should all be exposed to the arts. Doesn't mean we're all going to be professional musicians, but
Right.
the public schools don't do quite as well as they used to when I was growing up. As far as the arts, they are emphasizing other things, which are also good and important. So we help make up some of what they might be missing there, and then some, and we go beyond what they could ever get in a school setting like that. I think that, studies have proven that to learn an instrument will help increase your IQ. There have been books and studies that have shown that IQ levels can go up 10 to 15 points just from learning an instrument. So
Wow.
it can make your kid smarter. It can make your kid more well-rounded. It can give a child confidence in areas that they wouldn't have had otherwise. You know, I look at my son. He just performed pregame and halftime for the Harlem Globetrotters.
That's awesome.
Last 2 weeks ago in Beckley. And I just think, you know, and my mom watched the video on YouTube last night, and she said, Ryan, you know, he's really talented. And I started thinking, you know, I wouldn't have known that. Nobody else would have known that had I not introduced him to music. And there are lots of kids out there that have tons of talent, but they've never had the opportunity to discover that talent. So I think every child ought to have that opportunity. And it's not a waste of time by any means. Some of them will stick with it forever. Some will play for a few years and then move on. But it's a precious gift that parents can give to their children.
And have you gotten feedback since you've been there from parents who maybe have seen just an improvement in their child's confidence
Yeah.
or
Every
learning
day.
in school?
And it's interesting to see how they open up. It's almost like a plant that is dormant sometimes, especially with some of the young ones. I have one young student that I taught for a whole year, and he wasn't always super interested. He'd come in and kind of, and he'd hit a wrong note and just go like that. And I would encourage him. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if mom and dad said, we're going to give you, extra video game time if you practice. I don't know what happened, but at some point, just within the last couple months, he has taken off. And he's reading music, and I can put music in front of him, and he can play it. And he's just a little guy, and he's really progressing now. So it's interesting to see how they unfold. And of course, his mom is very excited now to see the progress that he's making. And we're putting together some things that I can talk about here in a bit about the future of what we want to do at School of Harmony that we haven't done in the past, that some of these kids that are making good progress are going to have opportunities to perform out in the community.
Well, I know we all want to hear about that. We're going to take a quick break, but
Okay.
be sure to stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Community Forum. If you're just joining us, we have from the School of Harmony, Dr. Ryan Snuffer here, who is the Director of Music. So thank you again for joining us.
My pleasure.
So I want to jump into, what is a typical first music lesson like?
That's a good question. I suppose some parents or at least students might be nervous about what that would be like, especially if they've never taken a lesson before anywhere else. Our teachers are laid back. They're good, but they're not going to come in the first time and intimidate the student, whether that be a child or an adult. A lot of it's assessment, not like notepad and paper type assessment, but observing the person. What makes this kid unique? Does this kid really want to be here? Because there are things we try to do to get them motivated. If they don't, find out where their skill level is. Have they ever had any type of music background? Do they have family members that play instruments? Because that helps a lot too. Because then we can send assignments home that we know mom or dad or uncle or grandpa or somebody can help with.
out.
And so a lot of that is just getting to know the students, setting them at ease, talking about personal things in school a little bit. We don't spend the whole time doing all that. We always have some music given to them, some type of homework assignment or something to get them started. We talk a lot about the instrument. I'll hold up a mandolin and say, this is the nut, this is the fretboard, and these are frets. And so helping the child or adult get to know his or her instrument. And so it's just to set their nerves at ease. Usually, when I teach a lesson, I will try to play something on that instrument that's not to show off, but something that will show them where they could be.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll show them a little YouTube video. Our teachers have iPads, and we can use those to show YouTube videos and different things like that to inspire them. And I'll say, you know, who's your favorite musician, you know, and then if I know who that person is, I might think about their influences. Well, did you know that there was a blues artist that influenced this person, or at least this style of music, and try to go into the roots of music. And so just find ways to connect with them and get them motivated and get them excited about their next lesson, and to set any nervousness or apprehension they might have, to try to set that at ease. And it might take 2 or 3 lessons sometimes. I have some that are shy and that won't talk, you know, and they're just kind of quiet, and then at some point they forget what's happening and they just open up.
Have fun and roll with it.
And we try to have fun. That's the thing. I mean, we push them, but we want them to enjoy it too, because music should be enjoyable.
What are some of the types of music that they'll be learning? If they have a favorite genre,
right?
Can you
well,
pursue
see,
that?
One of the things that I noticed when we first started doing lessons at School of Harmony with my children is that the emphasis seemed to be a classical approach and a traditional approach to teaching music, and it's great. And that has been very helpful for us and for anybody, I'm sure, who's taken lessons there. But there are a lot of different genres and styles of music, and sometimes the teaching approach varies from style to style. You wouldn't necessarily use the same approach to the violin as you would to the fiddle. It's the same instrument, but it's a different way of playing it, and therefore a different way of teaching it. So we listen to what they want. Now, sometimes a child has no idea, and again, it might be mom that just encouraged them, and that's a good thing because they wouldn't have done it on their own. But at some point along the way, they usually will open up a little bit. I like that song. You know, I had one real little guy that liked Thomas the Train.
Aww.
So I found some Thomas the Train music, and he couldn't play it right away, but that gave him a goal and something to look forward to. And I have another one that's really wanting to do Super Mario Brothers.
Okay.
And so we have a book, and as soon as he gets there, I said, "You're not there yet." You know, he said he'll come in sometimes and say, "Am I ready for Super Mario yet?" And I found a simple arrangement so he could play a couple notes off something, but it gives them a goal and something to look forward to. And you know, we have instructors that are very specialized in different areas, and we try to match new students up with instructors that fit those needs. We have Hunter Walker. He's one of the new teachers we hired, and he's a 4-time West Virginia state champion of the mountain dulcimer. He has placed on the state level and beyond with clawhammer banjo, and he's a very good musician. Now, he wouldn't be that good for teaching classical music, but anything in the realm of traditional, he's about as good as it gets around here. And so, you know, we know who to put with him. And we have others that have classical training and 4-year degrees from music schools that are very good with violin or piano. And so we have a lot of different, we have a variety of instructors that can meet a variety of needs. And sometimes the parent will have a say in that and say, well, you know, I really want them to learn to read music in standard notation, which we offer to all the students. But we make sure that gets done for those who that's what they really want. We also have, this is kind of a side note here, but it's an important part of what we do as far as the teaching goes. We have software that if a parent pays for the monthly tuition for the lessons, which are 30-minute lessons or 45 or an hour, whatever they want, they also have access to software that we have purchased that will take them from nothing, 48 lessons worth through music theory. And it's animated, and it's colorful, and it's fun, and it's interactive. And at the beginning, they're just learning what a note is, and at the end, they're writing some of their own music. And they've learned music theory. So we teach music theory in the classroom, but we also reinforce that with a very colorful and lively software that most of the kids enjoy. I'm going through it myself so that I know what it's like, and I've enjoyed it.
That's pretty neat. And what are the instruments that you offer?
Well, and I know I'm going to miss some, so
Okay.
I hope I don't miss too many, but I can at least get all the categories. Okay, as far as strings, we've talked a lot about strings, you know, violin and or fiddle, mountain dulcimer, bluegrass banjo, clawhammer banjo, guitar, mandolin, whether they want to go acoustic or electric, and then the various styles and genres. We have woodwinds, which would include, things like the clarinet. And we had a student that plays the clarinet that played with my son for the Globetrotters, Trey Waycaster, and he did a great job. And we have a teacher that does brass as well. And if you want to come and learn the trumpet or the saxophone, and there might be some students who are in band in their schools that would like to continue improving their skills and go beyond what they could learn at school, and we can do that as well. We have percussion, drums, or if somebody wanted to learn how to play the cajones, something of a different percussive nature. We have that sort of thing. We have lots of piano students and several instructors that can teach piano or keyboard or organ. We have voice, which the voice is an instrument too, and we have several very gifted voice teachers. And going back to this Globetrotters event, that's one of the most recent things we've done in public. We had a little boy that did the national anthem for that, who's been taking voice from us for a few years, and so like I said, I figured I would probably miss something, but I think those are all. I think those are the big categories. It's interesting. Somebody might do well on one of those shows like The Voice or America's Got Talent. And then we'll have an influx of people coming in wanting to learn, say, the ukulele. I think there was somebody that did really well with the ukulele on that not too long ago, and I have several ukulele students now. You make it popular
overnight.
Yeah, all of a sudden everybody wants to learn ukulele or mandolin or something like that. So, and we have instructors that can teach a lot of different things, like stand-up bass. We don't have any stand-up bass students, but we could accommodate that if somebody's ready, we're ready for them. Mm-hmm.
How about students who come in and they have no idea what they want to learn? Can they try one and then switch to another?
Yeah. Now it helps if they know kind of what category they want, but of course we have that happen from time to time. And I've had students where I'll have 3 or 4 stringed instruments in the classroom, and I'll introduce each one, and then they make a decision. And that's what I've done several times with students. And if they even want to switch to another teacher, that's fine. No hard feelings. We try to accommodate whatever their needs are. So that's a good question, though.
And how about some events? You briefly said the Globetrotters was the last one. Spring and summer, do you have any coming up?
Yeah, we have a lot of things coming up. We're going to partner with Greystone and Daniels, West Virginia for, I think they have an event called Mayberry Days or something like that. We're going to do Fridays in the Park in Beckley this summer. We have a lot of venues and events that we're going to be participating in. We also are doing summer camps this year. And we've never done summer camps, at least not like what we're planning to do now. I'm working on scheduling, and we're going to be promoting that very heavily within the next few weeks. But we're going to have in mid-July, the 2nd and 3rd weeks of July, we're going to have day camps, and one of the tracks is string band. If they want to join a band, if they want to be a part of a band, and there's no way to replicate what you can get playing with people, even with private lessons. And so that's one of the big things that we're doing, and one of the big ideas I have for change and for improving what we've done in the past is having groups, a jazz band, a string band. If people wanted to get together and form a gospel quartet, we have people that could help with that. But when you play with people, you have to use your ears a lot more. It's easier sometimes to look at music or to memorize something and play it, but sometimes your rhythm might be off a little bit. You might not be really paying that much attention even. Mm-hmm. But if you play with somebody else, you have to listen to what he or she's doing so you can play in sync with that person. Right. So getting kids together to play in groups is a big part of what we're going to do in the future. And the Globetrotters event was kind of a mix of students and faculty together. That was like our first thing that we have done like that, at least first time in a long time. And so that's going to springboard into a lot of other things. So at camp this summer, if somebody wants to join a band, a string band with guitar or something like that, well, they could take that class, and by the end of the week, they will have been exposed to a lot and learn a lot. The camps are great because it's like immersion. You hear about languages, and if you go to school and take Spanish class or something like that, a couple years later you can remember a few vocabulary words. You might recognize a little bit, You could take Spanish for 2 or 3 years in school, but if you go to a Spanish-speaking country and spend a month, you're going to learn a whole lot more, you know, baptism by immersion, so to speak. And that's what we want to do with these camps. By the end of the week, I think they will learn a lot. I mean, the private lessons are great, and they will make progress with those, but if they attend these camps, they're going to learn so much and make so much progress. We're going to do an art track as well for people who want to paint or draw or do crafts and things like that. We're going to do a performing art track where they can do drama and voice lessons and different things that would prepare them for theater or something like that. And we had, one of my instructors had a great idea to have a craft time where they make an instrument. And we're going to offer students an opportunity to make a mountain dulcimer.
Wow.
Mountain dulcimer is one of the few instruments that is native to Appalachia. You see, the mandolin came from Italy. The banjo came from Africa. The guitar came from Spain. The fiddle is a European instrument. The mountain dulcimer is 100% Appalachian. And so for the string band track, or maybe an Appalachian track that we do, we will have kits where they can put together a dulcimer and then learn to play it. So these are pretty cool things that we're coming up with, and we have group piano and keyboard as well. And sometimes there are advantages to playing in a group lesson that you wouldn't necessarily get with private lessons as well. So lots of ideas. Yeah, it is. I'm really excited about it. So.
And I want to give you a chance to put the contact information out for our viewers who might be interested in taking some lessons.
Sure. Well, the phone number for School of Harmony is 304-253-3095. And we're on Facebook. We have a web page. If you just look up School of Harmony, you'll find us. And the phone numbers are there as well.
Perfect.
If you call that number, there will be people with, especially during business hours.
Yes.
You might get a recording otherwise, but anytime during the day, someone will help you and answer any questions you might have.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for all this helpful information. And thanks for joining us at WOAY.
A lot of fun. Thank you.